All right, go ahead.
Thank you. So I call the meeting to order by recognizing the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors, the Alderville First Nation, with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the municipality of Brighton is located on the Mississauga, Anishinaabe territory and is the traditional territory of Mississauga. The Council of the Municipality of Brighton respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. So the first item is, first I just wanted to mention that I did get an email from Karen Terrio, and she is out of the province. She's out of the country actually. So she sends along her regrets. So approval of the agenda for the October 7th Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting. Could I have a mover and seconder for the approval of this agenda? Emily and Ron, thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Nothing so far. And then approval of the minutes from the September, that's our last meeting, September 2nd of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. Could I have a mover and a seconder for these minutes? Marty and Ron, thank you. So delegations, I'm assuming there's none then, haven't heard. I wanted to suggest for delegations for next year. I know that we have an alliance, informal alliance with Bay of Quinte Tourism, but I was thinking it would be good to hear from Northumberland Tourism as well as Regional Tourism Organization 8, RTO 8, to see what they are actually able to do for us as a municipality and our area. They're also the source of, perhaps could be the source of some funding. So I just thought it would be a good idea to have them in at some point in the new year. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Very good.
Okay. So we'll go right to them then. Municipal update.
Sure. I got a few and then I'll hand off to Caroline as well.
Okay.
So we've got a couple exciting land closures in the industrial park to let everyone know about. It was on the council agenda and bylaws the other night, but a couple, I think it was picked up by the news as well, but lot 13 and 14 closed. A company called Yo Veggie purchased it. It's just under a 4-acre parcel. They are a yogurt production plant in phase 1. In phase 2, they plan on producing dips, feta cheese, and maybe even ice cream. So pretty heavy dairy based. They're going to start with approximately seven employees, and as the demand for products hopefully increases, they'll obviously need to increase shifts and obviously staff. So in the end, there's going to be about a 10,000 square foot building covering the lot. So pretty exciting development there. It's going to offer not a ton of employment, but I think one thing to keep in mind is there's not a ton of workforce out there. So companies have really shifted to an automation perspective and are finding skilled labor that can operate specific automation. So it's a food processor. There's contingencies in the deal that where we created their own, where they have to create their own water treatment system before it goes into our system. So that's going to be a bit of an expense for them, but they seem very prepared and very on board with everything. So we're going to see a site plan coming through from them shortly, I assume, and hopefully building permit, get them underway in 2022 is my thought there. The other land closure that was on the council agenda on Monday was lot 7, under the name of Shalini Nixon. This is a manufacturer of CNC machines. CNC machines are computer numerical controls. So things like grinders, lathes, turning mills is what they produce. So they'll also be fabricating custom steel and aluminum, and machines are made for routing wood, cabinet making, stone cutting, and engraving. So some pretty interesting manufacturing going on there. Again, very automation and technology based. They're looking at a 5,000 square foot space with 5 to 8 employees. So again, it's a good tax base. It's a few more jobs, and it's a really interesting development that's going to be fairly, clean, not producing heavy odors, and it's something that I think our friends at QEDC, our friends at Northumberland Economic Development, maybe can help out with funding and things like that, because they are so automation and technology based. Another announcement on Tuesday, Bain Construction is actually going to be groundbreaking their development in the industrial park. They purchased lot 12 about not even a year ago. They've moved rather fast. They actually just got their building permit last Thursday or Friday. So we are doing a bit of ceremony. I think the mayor was to let all council know, thinking he's done that already. So October 12th at 10 a.m. going to be just a photo op with Bain Construction, mayor, whatever councilors, and we'll get that one off and running. So quite exciting, lots of movement out in the industrial park. So they're building about a 5,000 square foot shop. It's going to be used for indoor storage, working on machinery. There'll be a small office. They can store sewer pipe and things like that outdoors. And as they get more and more contracts to the east of Cobourg, they need more space to the east of Cobourg. So they chose us, which is exciting. We submitted a red grant on Friday, October 1st, to the pop-ups project. It's a 30% grant. So in total, we've asked for approximately $11,000. Last time we received a grant was for Casey's Lane redevelopment that I'm sure you've all noticed by now. But it was approximately 3.5 months before we heard anything. So I think, given that the holiday season is, only about 8 weeks away, and, the new year shortly after that, they'll want to get the announcements out before then, but that's just my guess. I'm not OMAFRA. I'm not a provincial ministry whatsoever. Maybe it will be into January before we hear. So I think it's a really strong application. We fit into the category of community infrastructure well, because it's a retrofit and we're redeveloping an old space that hasn't been used in quite some time. So we think we've nailed it there. Caroline and I put a lot of hours into this. The questions are very repetitive and pretty monotonous, but we think we've written a strong application. Earlier this week, we were made aware of another grant opportunity called the My Main Street Community Activator Grant. So again, this is a grant that is specializing in placemaking projects. So we think that makes pop-ups eligible. And again, so they're only going to grant about 140 projects around the province. So it's going to be very competitive. Luckily, a lot of the questions on that grant are very similar to the one on the OMAFRA grant. So Caroline's already started to piece that together, and we're still not sure in terms of dollar amount what we're going to be sort of getting or looking for, but it's up from $25,000 to $100,000 grant. So yeah, we got that in the works. That's due November 1st, I believe. And then lastly, before I hand it over, we had a new business open just last week in the downtown called Swan Accounting. It opened in the old Blossoms building, I believe. We actually stumbled upon that a couple months ago when the renos were beginning and kind of heard about it, kept it quiet as long as we could. So it's good to see a nice sign up, a nice new professional service downtown. Hopefully will be an anchor for quite some time and fills a vacancy. So yeah, I'll hand it over to Caroline for some more exciting stuff.
Thanks, Ben. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I just have a few things to kind of update you on that we've been working on or wrapped up. We wrapped up the Bites of Brighton contest on September 30th. In the end, we got about 80 entries, which was way more than I thought we would. And we were able to track about $1,000 in local spending. As I said in the last meeting, that's just kind of an estimate based on the photos that people were giving us. So sometimes people would just, post one meal when in fact they went out for dinner with their whole family, and you could kind of see the rest of the family in the back of the photo. So Ben and I are thinking that with our initial estimate of $1,000, the total amount that was spent through this campaign was more likely close to $3,000, which was pretty amazing. So we've handed out most of the prizes. Yesterday, I actually got a message from one of the recipients, and he has used his gift card to treat friends and family to local. They went to China King, they used the gift card there, and then he paid for auto repairs at Davis Auto. So it was nice to see that the prize money was then turned around and spent in the community again. We are starting a new campaign, kind of similar to Bites of Brighton. You guys might have seen these at the front desk of the municipality. This is our Brighton bucket list, the fall edition, just in case we, create a spinoff for other seasons with all of Brighton's different offerings. So the focus here is on kind of agritourism, really, promoting the farms in our area that kind of have a boom this time of year, and just making people, aware of all of the stuff that they have. So we've partnered with 4 different locations that kind of go hand in hand with some of the activities that are listed on the back. So we have the paper copies at Cricklewood Farm, Cheer Farm, Just Like Granny's, and then the Codrington Farmers Market. And those are physical locations people can go and pick up the list and physically check off the activities as they do them. There is the digital component, which we've kind of kept going with the Bites of Brighton, since the photos kind of worked for social media and was just a good way to, validate that people are participating. So it's the same kind of premise. You snap a photo, upload it, and then we can, mark that you participated. The physical copies are being handed out, but I've also kind of done social media features on each of those 4 locations that have them. So it's a little bit of kind of a promotional tool as well for them to attract people to the business. So I have 4 different profiles going out over the duration of the contest period that just kind of highlights each business within the context of the, each business in the context of the contest that we're doing. The prize for this one is a $250 Brighton basket. So we will be approaching businesses and purchasing and putting together a different basket of things from, downtown businesses, the industrial park, and just kind of creating a basket so whoever gets it is exposed to all different Brighton business products and services. And that again will be featured on our Instagram, which will help, get the word out about different products that are in different businesses. In terms of social media, we've been remaining strong in that respect. We've had lots of influencers visit our area. I think 2 weeks ago we had Lost with Louie. He's like a travel Instagram influencer, and he was visiting Presqu'île Park primarily, and then was also in the downtown area. So he featured Lola's Cafe, Cricklewood Farm, and the new bike rental and repairs. And that went over really, really well. Dave Quinney gave us a lot of positive feedback, and all of his content remains on his page. So it'll help people who are interested in following him see where he's been, and then maybe they discover Brighton through his content. We've had lots of community engagement, which has been lovely. Lots of people taking photos, tagging us in photos, and showcasing Brighton, which is always good to see. And we've also had a lot of external agencies start to share some of our content. So Northumberland County has shared a few things that we've put out. Bay of Quinte obviously has always been very supportive, but we're also getting a lot of kind of stuff from downtown businesses, especially with that downtown video. We posted a lot of engagement from downtown businesses and other local organizations, just kind of spreading the word about Brighton, which has been nice. The last thing I'll update you on is just a small business campaign I'm going to try to run during Small Business Week. It's very, very small. I think it'll just be a good community engagement tool. The Small Business Week is right after I think it's the 17th, the 23rd, the week after Thanksgiving. And the idea is just trying to keep the theme of thankfulness rolling and have people participate in a virtual thank you all for small and local businesses. So what this kind of looks like is it's a link, you click on it, and you're kind of met with this wall that you can put a sticky note on, and you can write, you know, like, thank you to Lola's for always having like the best coffee. I appreciate you being in our downtown, or whatever you want to write. And then it becomes a wall filled with just positive messaging for our businesses to see, and I'll be putting that on our social media page. I think that's it for me.
Good.
Okay, that's great news, all of it, especially the business park, Ben. I know that stuff doesn't happen all by itself, so congratulations on that. That's some really good news there. I wanted to ask about one of the items we talked about last time. It was item 8 in the new business, tourism promotion as an experiential tourism and outdoor agricultural area, and we had a discussion about the 5-year plan for tourism and economic development. We were talking actually about the rural routes, some sort of, you know, experiential program. Has there been any further discussion or thought about that, whether it's actually, you know, something that's in print or online or anything like that?
We've tried to really incorporate that into this fall bucket list idea to kind of see where it goes. A lot of that campaign is centered around agricultural tourism, for sure. In terms of the long-term plan strategy, no, I'm not quite there yet. We have the experiential tourism program going with that Bay of Quinte is funding, and the operator that was chosen was actually Megan with Tin Roof and her kind of expansion ideas there. So she's being coached through some experiential tourism programming right now, and really wrapping her head around what she can offer. So that's kind of where we are at there. But I think a good trial run on the agricultural side will be to see how the uptake is on this fall campaign, and kind of go from there. We talked a lot sort of after that September meeting just between Caroline and I about what our agritourism assets are, and you know, there's only limited agritourism businesses that are really hitting it right now in Brighton, and we just don't necessarily feel completely comfortable approaching some of the farms, you know, whether it's maple syrup, whether it's local produce, whether it's, you know, dairy. We're just not quite there yet to really push and prod on whether we want to make them a full-blown, you know, whether they're interested in even in making them a full-blown agritourism business. So it's kind of where we're at. There, but we'll see how this agritourism thing goes through the fall campaign.
Okay, and maybe even if we get a chance to talk to Northumberland Tourism and RTO8, that they may have something ongoing that we can piggyback onto as well. So that might still be a possibility for the spring as well. Okay, any comments on Ben's report?
Last
Emily?
on it.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Marty. I'll wait.
Okay, last time I mentioned, used to have a rural ramble, so I was talking about why it ended, and basically it was biosecurity, just, you know, keeping animals free from disease. And they had, it started well, but we had more and more problems with animal activists coming to the farm and complaining, and it was going to get worse every year. So that's why farmers didn't want it, because it was just collecting a whole bunch of people that were negative, against animals being locked up and in pens and everything else. And you end up arguing with them all the time, and farmers didn't want to do it, the hassle of that. So that's why that program ended.
I had never thought of that before. I didn't realize that was happening.
Yeah, that's why it ended.
Yeah. Okay. Emily?
Thank you, Libby. Just maybe a couple of questions, Ben. Does that, with these lots and the new lots being sold, does that pretty well are we close to having all of the lots sold now in the industrial park?
We're pretty much tapped out. My
Yeah.
my current challenge or current day-to-day is actually figuring out what current absent owners want to actually sell back to us for the same price they bought it. And you can imagine how that goes, dealing with lawyers and absent owners that just really bought it for purely to pick up land and own it. So that's an arduous process. I've already actually purchased back 2 lots back earlier in 2021, if you remember, 27 and 28. And that went as best it could. They're actually pretty easy to deal with. And then we do have approximately 3 more lots for sale, 29, 30, and 31, but they don't have a lot of road frontage right now. They're at the corner there where the road kind of bulbs right now. So 29 has a little bit of road frontage, and I've had some tire kickers on that. I don't feel super comfortable selling it right now, because I'm not sure how the site plan design would work with that type of road frontage. But yeah, we're pretty tapped out with where we're at right now. And I can't talk too much about the businesses I'm trying to buy back from. It's pretty confidential stuff, but it's going to be a long 6 months to a year process with some of these characters. So we're working away at that. We do have a plan of attack with Cambium and Dual Engineering in terms of the environmental protection zone. We thought we had a pretty good workaround that staff at LTC would maybe approve on their own. Didn't go that way. We found that out or kind of mid-September. We had about a 3-hour meeting. And now we think, the hearing and the hearing option with the board is our only option at this point. So more to come on that.
Well, it's good to see stuff moving, that's for sure. And good to see that we're a lot farther ahead than we were a few years ago on that industrial property, that's for sure. Just one more question, if I can. You said we've applied for the Red Grant, and we're applying for the My Main Street grant. If you receive monies from one, does that cancel out the other one, or can you apply for both? And do you get success? If you get successful on both, you get monies from both for the pop-up project?
There's nothing in either application that talks about one another. So we'll try for both and see what happens.
Right. And if I could give one suggestion to Caroline, the bucket list promo, would it be possible to bring some of your promotional literature downstairs to the library?
Yeah, I can bring, I'll have to print some more copies, but I can absolutely do that.
Yeah. They probably have as many walk in and out people as the municipal office does. Thank you.
Hey, any other comments or questions for Ben or Caroline?
For Ben, you're running out of space for industrial, commercial, not commercial, but industrial. What about the brownfields? We haven't really talked about using them for, and I'll use the word industrial because I think everybody knows what that means. Light, I'm talking light industrial. What about the brownfields that are sitting there? Perhaps they could be used for for that type of thing as well, Ben. And we thought about that or talked about that.
We've definitely had tire kickers on that are a more industrial approach. So there's rules. I'm not a planner, but I learn more and more about planning every day. But there's rules in the zoning bylaw that depending on the type of development, you do not have to remediate. So which may sound okay, but it's really restrictive. So we're talking about like outdoor storage areas and outdoor greenhouses and places that store landscaping supplies and things like that. We're not talking about significant indoor manufacturing or warehousing or commercial development. That would all need to be remediated. And the way sort of Bob and I have talked about it is like, take the Cooey property, for instance, very much a focal point in the center of the community. Is that the best use of those lands for it to be a landscape supply company with wood chips and fertilizer? Probably not, right? Like that's probably not what we need to be doing. So we are open to whatever may happen in the brownfield perspective. But I think the zoning bylaw is too restrictive to do kind of what you're alluding to without remediation and without this CIP, which is actually coming to planning on Tuesday. Hopefully that kind of triggers some people to maybe build actual, developments with buildings and a business model that's sustainable. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah,
at all.
The thought is, where do we go from here? Or where do you go from here?
Yeah, so we obviously don't own any more lands directly to the east. That's a private owner. That would be the natural fit. Again, I can't talk about that too much, but it is zoned M1. So I don't know if you remember years ago when I first started, we did have QEDC hired a consultant to kind of analyze all of the Quinte region's industrial lands. And that was the recommendation, was to start kind of moving over there. We do own a little bit of a pocket of land in behind kind of the auto mechanic shop there where Brighton Springs is, kind of in that area. We do own a little pocket there. But again, there's some discrepancy on Lower Trent and environmental protection in that spot. But it would be very close to servicing and it would be pretty attractive. I think we own like 4 or 5 acres in there as well. So I don't know. That's definitely something that's come to light in the last couple of months is what's next. But it's a little bit more complicated than I can really get into right now.
No, I understand that. I thought just for this committee, we should be have our minds on that.
For sure. Absolutely.
And I know you do. I just asked the question. You put you on the spot, but I think we all need to be thinking of that. And if an opportunity comes along, we certainly want to have, at least the knowledge of what we can do and what you can do, and rather than have it just go past us. So it's not necessarily a shovel ready situation. It's just be somewhat ready. So anyhow, that's all I'll say on that. Thanks a lot.
Sort of on those lines, then, you said the CIP is coming for approval to planning on Tuesday. If that is approved, will there be like a public meeting, or how will that be delivered to the community and to investors and so on?
Yeah, we're gonna have to let it go through the process of council. Maybe there's gonna be some things to iron out after the meeting, and it won't be quite ready yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly a robust marketing campaign to get that out into the community. We're gonna really leverage QEDC on that one, because That's the stuff they absolutely love, is adding tools to the business retention, expansion, investment toolkit, right? So really going to leverage them. Really going to leverage Rob Day over at Northumberland, make sure they're aware of it. TJ Flynn, who does a lot of the business recruitment stuff, make sure he's aware of it. But I think as soon as our local developers see it, there's going to be some eyes perk up for sure. And hopefully they're maybe even watching this. I don't know, but it's coming on the 12th, and the technical piece is kind of Paul Walsh, and the financial piece is our finance department, and we're budgeting dollars for it for the 2022 budget. And then the marketing piece is me, and making sure it's in the top of mind of the people that it needs to be top of mind to.
So is that a public meeting, Ben? Is it on Zoom?
It'll be so planning meeting happens once a month. It's the second Monday, but because of Thanksgiving, it's Tuesday this week. It's always the second week of the month, and I believe it's an open session. The agenda should be out later today or early tomorrow, but yeah, there's nothing.
In the council chambers?
Council's been meeting in the council chambers with key staff, and then everyone else tunes in on YouTube or Zoom. And if people have a public comment, they have to reach out to the clerk and arrange that public comment so they can speak to council through Zoom.
But the planning meeting is public and it's being held in the council chambers.
Yes.
Okay.
We just can't have residents live. They have to, come in otherwise. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, comments for Ben?
I'd like
Councillor
to add, thank you again, Libby. I just want to kind of tag on the CIP thing too. I know that the brownfields has been kind of top of mind as far as the CIP goes. But Ben, do you know, and I guess we'll wait till we see it for sure, if there's any wording around downtown revitalization or anything like that in the plan also?
Yep, downtown revitalization and affordable housing is going to be all part of it.
All part of the same plan?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
Great.
So there'll be different matrices and different applications for the different categories.
Thank you.
Anything else for Ben or Caroline? I would need a motion to accept their report. Mover? Okay, Ron, and seconder, Emily. Thank you. Okay, DBIA update. Megan isn't here. Does anybody have her report?
Libby, I do sit as the municipal rep on
Right.
DBIA. And I will say I missed the last DBIA meeting, but I've just pulled our minutes up, which we will approve next week. Not really a lot going on. I just want to let you all know that the new mural, I mean, we've decorated up Casey's Lane, cleaned it up pretty nicely. And then there were some members from Art on Main who have been working the last couple of weeks to create a super fine mural, I think. That will be dedicated this Saturday. Once again, Chief Mowat will be in town because there is the Every Child Matters theme connected to that mural. So I think that's a good thing coming up. I'm guessing at our meeting next week, we will be dealing with some of the new seasonal things as far as Christmas, Light Up Brighton, whatever, to see what we're going to work on for that. Other than that, like I say, I don't have a whole lot as I missed the meeting. So more to update hopefully in November.
Okay, thank you. And so we'll need a motion to approve that report as well. I'll move that one and Marty will second. Great, thank you. And now we have a chamber report. Laura?
Hi, you'll have to excuse my voice. It's half gone. So for chamber, the social media classes that the DBIA and Caroline and I have all been working on are going pretty well. We're gaining new students each class. So far, we've covered Facebook and Instagram basics, taught them how to create a decent bio to attract more customers. Caroline's been working really hard with one business in particular. She did a complete overhaul on their Facebook, so it's a more proper business Facebook. And then upcoming classes next is we're going to teach them how to do things like linking your Facebook and Instagram, so you can just post the one thing and it goes to multiple platforms. And so far the response has been pretty good. The students that we do have are saying that they're pretty grateful for the classes and looking forward to new classes. So this is an initiative that I think can go beyond the 6 classes that we had planned. We also have the OCC grant that chambers were granted. Has officially been giving out to chambers, so we actually are starting to have money in our hands. And the other chambers of Northumberland and I are at the point now where we're hiring digital contractors to do things like create marketing plans, a combined logo for us, and we're starting to plan initiatives like Shop Local to go alongside our municipality Shop Local ideas. So it's just kind of an extension of those. And I have 1 new member and 2 possible new members, and one of them is in Brighton. So we're chugging along.
Awesome. Awesome. Are there any questions for Laura or anything in relation to the chamber you want brought up? Okay. All right. Thanks, Laura. Could I have a mover to approve Laura's report from the Chamber of Commerce, please? Councillor Rowley, seconder, Councillor Anderson, thank you. And okay, next would be correspondence. I don't believe we have any to review. Ben, have you received anything? No. Okay. New business, and I'm assuming that everybody received the email that I sent about the business retention and expansion program that I'm suggesting that we do in the spring. I just downloaded a very quick little blurb on the objectives of the BRNE for anybody who didn't get a chance to have a look at it, but it is to provide support for local businesses, most importantly to identify and address immediate concerns of businesses and let local businesses have that contact with the municipal office and increase the competitiveness of local businesses. And it will then lead to the establishment of a strategic action plan for economic development and promote business and job creation. So I know it was a lengthy email that I sent, but does anybody have any questions on it or any thoughts as to whether or not this is something that you feel we should proceed with next year? Councillor Rowley?
Thank you, Libby. I think it's a great initiative. I think there was something maybe several years ago that Brighton looked at maybe trying to create this kind of a plan. And I think, like sometimes happens, things sit on the shelf. I guess maybe some of the concern might be staff time and how we could roll some of this out or how this would work. Would we have to, I think between both Ben and Caroline, just listening to the reports every month, they're pretty busy. So in order to create that, would we have to kind of all roll up our sleeves and work in something like this? Because I don't think they could probably.
It actually is not the best idea to have people who work at a municipality conduct these interviews with local businesses. It's better to have somebody that is at arm's length from that. So I am suggesting that some sort of funding, whether it's already in place or in a grant form, where we would need probably 2 people for maybe only a month or so. So it wouldn't be onerous. We would need to hire somebody. I could do the training, provide the survey, do the analysis, and then these other people would do the interviewing. But it is not desirable that this committee or staff would do those interviews.
Okay.
Because there are questions in there as well about the municipality. So it would be a difficult discussion to have, I think, if you were sitting in front of a business as to how council is doing or performing that sort of thing.
Right.
So that would certainly be the caveat, that we would need a couple of people for a short period of time to conduct these interviews, and then the analysis could take place. So yeah.
Okay, that clarifies a few things for me. Thank you, Libby.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments on it? Councillor Anderson?
I think at first, Libby, I thought it might be just too much. And like you say, if this was done just a short time ago, sometimes we have a lot of studies and that sitting on the shelf, and I'm not going to bring up a couple of them, but sometimes you can just bring those off the shelf and look at them again, or even read them, like where maybe maybe no one read them in the first place. But anyhow, some of those studies are worth looking at again, because things don't change that drastically. But this one is very timely. I think your suggestion is very good, and I think we should do it, because you're going to be getting an opinion after, here we've been 2 years through, over 2 years through hell with COVID, and businesses have been through it. And the reflection and the suggestions and the information you're going to get out of that is going to be very current and very, where are we going and where are they going? And I think you'll get a lot of it. And then you said there'll be comments about the municipality, things like that. And those will be current as well. And they may be frustrated when they sit down with you, as a lot of people are right now. So we're going to get a lot of emotion out of some of those issues. But we need to know what we can do to make those improvements and to drive more business to business. I'm talking commercial type business, and support that business that's already here. Now we need to get at and coming out of it, and there's opportunities to probably funding to get the things done and to help people, and we don't want to miss the boat on any of that. So yes, this will be an exercise that may have been done before, but we should tie it into what was done before and what the expectations are of those people. So
and correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but I believe that this process was started at one point, and it wasn't completed in any way. I believe it was started in the downtown area. I'm suggesting one for all sectors, based on, so for example, if this is a broad example, if 50% of the businesses in Brighton are in the retail sector, then 50% of the results of the survey would be for retail. So it would be based on what the businesses here already, what sectors they're in. And it's a great, especially for next year, it will be a great tool for you to show the businesses that you understand what their issues are. And then this committee and Ben's department would be able to make plans to address some of those issues and expand on what is seen as our strengths and so on. So, I think for the first time, municipalities have been doing BR&E projects throughout the pandemic. It has been hard because they have been done remotely, but it is better if we can sit down. There's so much more information that you can gather. If you are sitting in front of somebody, you can see their business, you can see firsthand what the issues are. And I really don't think that you're going to get a lot of angry people or people that have, something serious to say in general in this area. And I'm talking about the Quinte area. People, businesses are generally a happy bunch, but there is always something that can come out of it that, can be improved on and so on. So if everybody is in agreement, Jessica, I don't know if we need a motion or not, but Ben and I could, talk again in the new year about how to proceed with it and where to get some money for people. Is that okay with everyone? Just a general consensus, or?
Yeah, I'm just thinking if we are going to be hiring people, how that HR process will work. We do have a union here. We do have to think about all the regulations that go in with hiring people. So I got to talk a little bit more to our HR professionals about that.
I was thinking more that it would be along the lines of a grant, and then you would be able to hire, based on the conditions of that grant on a temporary basis. And we may even be able to get some funding, sorry, Ron, I'll get right to you. We may even be able to get some funding through not Trendval, but your CFDC here in Northumberland for that sort of project, because it does assist business and in particular small business. So we may be able to get some funding through that. I know that's happened in other areas.
Right.
Yeah. Ron?
This is something like a service contract. You're talking a
Yeah.
month of somebody to go out and do some interviews. I know
Yeah.
Belleville did, Trenton did it. This is not uncommon. It's not, this is not something that municipality is actually doing. Yes, the committee is doing it, committee of council. But contract is a big word, but we would make an agreement with an individual or two to follow Libby's guidelines and go out and get the information and bring it back to Libby. So I don't know if that is something that's actually, we're hiring people through the municipality. That's a sort of like a service, you know, you don't.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it'd be easier if I could budget dollars under like a consultant fee. And then they would invoice us, and then that's how they would get paid, rather than actually hiring them to the municipality. That would be the best way to go.
We don't want to hire employees that like for a month.
Correct.
We're
That's
not
right.
we're not into that. So
Yeah.
this is, I agree. I think your method would certainly make a lot.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk through that while we could. Here.
Yeah. And I think we should make a decision today whether we are in favor of it and get the wheels turning, because to wait till after January then becomes another one of those things that starts to gather dust. And I like to, if we're going to do it, let's get it done, and let's get some results of it in the early spring, and that's where you get the momentum going over the good time of year. And either that, or let's put it off to the side and leave it for another time.
So did you want to make a motion to that effect, Ron?
I'll make a motion. Let's get on with it.
Okay. Anyone want to second that?
I'd have to check budget to know if we could do it now. That would be my only hold up there. I'd have to see.
Well, before we even do that, we just need to have an estimate of what costs it would be to this committee or to the municipality. I agree, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be substantial. Libby will have to be the one she's the driver. So
I mean, seriously, it is only a couple of people for a month to do this project. This is a small, bank of businesses that I think we could easily get through it in a month. And then there may be some associated printing costs that could be done in-house. Everything else, nothing else will cost the committee or the municipality anything. So if the motion could read to proceed with investigation of the feasibility of a business retention and expansion project in 2021 in the spring, then maybe we could go ahead on those terms, if that would be okay. Is that okay for your motion, Ron, to proceed with the project in 2022?
it should be done in early 22.
Early, yep. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Rowley. Okay, all in favor on that? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That's great. I'm looking forward to doing that. I think it will give us a greater insight into the business community than we already do have. Okay, is there any other new business? Anything anyone wants to bring up before we close? Okay, so our next meeting date, Ben, were you looking at having a meeting in November? I can't believe we're talking about November.
Yeah. So I think we'll have one next month, and then we can talk in November and see whether it's necessary to meet in December. I don't know if it will be in the holidays and everything.
So we would have a meeting then on the 4th of November. And at that meeting, we'll discuss whether we'll have one in December or go right straight through to, I think that's what we did last year, Doc. I can't remember if we had a meeting in December or not.
I think
we
we
have
actually
one-
just, I don't know, I'd have to go through it, but I think because we were just getting started last year around this time, we did meet
Yeah.
in December, but we're probably really close to our
Yeah.
maximum right now anyways.
I can check to see if you met in December, if you want to.
I know we met
Hold on
like
a
first
second.
thing in the year, and also as a committee, advance notice, we are obliged to elect a chair and a vice chair at the first meeting of each year, so everybody can start thinking about that one.
Remain status quo would be my. We only got 1 year left here, so.
Oh, only 1 year. Oh, that's great. So I need a motion. We have a lot of motions today. We have a motion for adjournment of this meeting of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Anderson and Marty second. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you on November the 4th.
Thank